We're back, and it's time to talk about OL Reign versus San Diego Wave FC. The Reign take this one 3-1, scoring 3 goals at home. You had, again, another tale of player rotation, but it did not matter. In this one, you had goals from a couple hometown kids, right? Home state kids, and Nikki Stanton, Sam Hyatt. Bethany Balser also getting on the board in this one. And Alex Morgan trying to make things interesting for a little bit, at least in this game. But OL Reign walking away with all 3 points in this one. This was the match that kicked off NWSL action this week, the match that marked the return of the Challenge Cup from the international break. And for the notebook, Lisa, for the notebook's sake, to honor the memory of the notebook that has now passed away, what were the picks in this one?
So I had a draw at high hopes for San Diego in this one, and you had OL Reign taking the win. So I'm a sore loser tonight for you, Sandra, but congrats, I guess.
You're not a sore loser. You just they just embarrass you in front of all your friends.
Seriously, come on, Alex Morgan, just notch a few more for me next time.
Right? It's like, come on, man. Looking at this one, when we did the previews for this week, this wasn't a match that we had highlighted as biggest match of the weekend slate of games, right? Thursday through Sunday, but we did have it as 2 teams and who is hottest right now, hottest teams in action. And we had this game highlighted as 2 teams who were hot because they were coming off of some pretty impressive results prior to the international break. And when we're looking at the San Diego Wave side of things, they had a bit of a call it a shootout, 4-2 against Angel City prior to going into their international window. And OL Reign, just listen, I'm going to keep talking about OL Reign because they were my pick to win Challenge Cup and maybe some other things down the stretch. But for right now, they're still sitting pretty. They're looking good. And with this particular match, knowing that player rotation was going to come into play, which was an argument for you, Lisa. You were like, listen, maybe there's enough here for a bit of a draw because of the different types of scenarios that we might see in individual battles or 1v1s. But it was still OL Reign walking away with all 3 points in this one. And we're talking about another game that had a very, very quick start. Goals all in the first half from OL Reign. Second minute.
Not just the
11th minute.
The first 11 minutes, 3 goals for OL Reign. They decided that they were going to show Lumen Field a show. They were going to put on a show the fans why they came to Lumen Field, put on a show for Thursday night NWSL viewers all over the world. 11 minutes, 3 goals, just like that. And then really, these goals are fantastic the way they kind of all broke down because Bethany Balser ends up scoring a goal. And this is a player that I've loved her kind of character arc throughout the season and throughout her NWSL career, because in 2019, she came in undrafted and was Rookie of the Year. In the last 2019 until now, she scored 15 regular season goals, 16 goals total, one of them coming in a previous Challenge Cup. This was Bethany Balser's very first goal outside of the 18-yard box. Every other goal that she has scored has been inside the 18. So many of them with her head as well. And it's because in this match, Bethany Balser started as an attacking midfielder, whereas every other game she has played in the front line. Laura Harvey, what a coach is she? I mean, having the ability to look at a player's individual skill and the players on the pitch around them and be able to put these players in certain positions and certain roles on the field to bring out their best qualities. And I think we saw that from Bethany Balser.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, we talked about this a little bit in the preview in terms of the player rotations that we were going to see. And while it was a good argument, I think, for making a case that this could possibly be a draw, it was still an argument for me to try to pick OL Reign for the win. I think we're looking at 2 teams in terms of their depth, that this was always going to be like a depth match, like who's got the bigger bench in this one. And I with the win, I'm like, yeah, it's the Reign. It's clearly the Reign. It's wild to sort of see this game get the start that it had. 3 very early goals before the 15th minute even ticks. And so you're like, okay, but the other part of that is like, okay, there's a ton of goals happening this early. are there going to be any mental lapses?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Like some of these players aren't maybe used to, building out a full 90-minute game yet. It's very early in the year. And then you have Alex Morgan scoring a goal in the 24th minute. It was an incredibly active first half. And it was one of these finishes for Morgan. You get Taylor Korniak lobbing a ball, Morgan with the ability to settle it, put it away. 3-1 feels a little bit different. If it's 3-0 going into halftime, right?
Yes, completely. Now, I just want to ask you, Sandra. First of all, the Taylor Korniak, Alex Morgan combination, Orlando Pride, they had that mojo going. Was it a handball on Alex Morgan?
Listen,
Sandra.
I'm glad you brought it up because again,
of course I gotta bring it up.
We talked about it in the top half. We're going to talk about it now in the second half of this episode. Again, it's very early in the year, and at one point, I was like, okay, we're getting some very solid officiating in some of these early Challenge Cups matches. We're seeing the yellows come out before things get out of hand. The game is being regulated in time as it should be. And then you have these moments in these games and you're like, oh no, here it comes. Because there's a couple moments in this particular game that maybe we got to talk about a little bit, Lisa. And listen, I saw on the replay, thought there was a little bit of a handball action going on there.
I think it was too.
We're talking about a league that doesn't have VAR at the moment, and
okay, but I'm going to say something maybe controversial. And as a defender, I feel I can say this because I've seen a lot of handballs in my day by forwards. If you're not a forward, if you don't sneakily handball the game, handball it during the game, you're just not, because they all do it. It's just how sneaky you are and how good you are at doing it. Yes, this is a handball. When you rewatch it, you can see it, but she's pretty good at it because she runs with her hands like this, and as she's turning and she kind of slaps it down a little. I'm sorry for those listening as a podcast, I was flailing my arms around,
extended arms,
and it's almost like it could maybe touch her shoulder, but her hand just happens to be there to help guide it and direct it down a little bit. Honestly, is pretty sneaky. Hats off to Alex Morgan because I'm sure she's done it a number of other times and gotten away with it because, hey, that's the game, right? There's no VAR and you got to do what you got to do. And besides the handball, an incredible touch from her.
I was going to say, you still got to finish, right?
Yeah. And it's an incredible finish. Like, that's an Alex Morgan goal, right? Like, on the back shoulder of the defender, a lofted ball over the top, able to just run onto it in stride, a great volley finish. That's what San Diego needed. It's a shame that, for San Diego's sake, I mean, OL Reign had a tremendous game and their 3 goals were huge. But if this opening goal from Alex Morgan happened before any of the other OL Reign goals, or even if it was 1-0 at this point, I think it would have been a totally different game, because this goal from Alex Morgan came in the 24th minute. Still early on in this match, still a lot of soccer left to be played. But it was just a little too late for San Diego because OL Reign had punched one too many holes in the balloon, deflating the wave throughout this one. But they have the pieces, right? Like, we're seeing good things from San Diego. But we talked about it a little. Kansas City versus Houston. The clearing of the ball on set pieces is something that San Diego really struggled with. That's how the first 2 goals, or excuse me, the first goal and the third goal happened for OL Reign. San Diego Wave just couldn't clear the ball defensively. They couldn't get it out. They were like half-ass clearances just to the edge of the box, where that's where OL Reign players are waiting to pounce on it and send it back in.
Yeah, it was... I'm thinking back to this game a little bit, and I'm having a similar moment that I had when we were talking about this Kansas City and Houston Dash game, at a moment where you get fixated on a call. Mm-hmm. And I'm like fixated on the no handball call, and I'm also fixated on like the tackle in the box, that didn't get called. That like looking at the replay, and then like you brought up the defender side of things. In your mind, was that a penalty? Should a penalty been given there if you're calling the game?
Yes, that was definitely a penalty. I mean, she got ball, I guess, but completely took out her legs. That was, yes, it's so interesting. And we talked a little bit about this right before we went live, that we're in the second half of the Challenge Cup tournament. And in the first half, it was after the first 5 games, the first weekend of 6 games, it was like yellow card, yellow card, yellow card, yellow card, suspension. This is happening. By the second weekend, players were already having to sit out the third weekend. There was red card, there was yellow card accumulation. And now it's almost like the officials had a powwow. They had a picnic during this international break, and they were like, let's see what these players can do. Let's let them play a little bit. And now in just the 2 matches that we've already had coming off of the international break, I think the missed call by Ball and Shea Groom in the Kansas City Houston game, and then missing this penalty kick that should have been a penalty kick in OL Reign versus San Diego Wave. It's not, it was a foul.
Yeah, there were a number of moments in this game where you're like, okay, like what's going on here? Missed call there, or uncall,
at least it was
non-call.
Like even from both sides, I'm gonna say.
I guess maybe perhaps like both coaches can have a little bit of a case or make an argument there. I am high on this OL Reign team, but this is another game where I would have liked to see maybe another goal from them in the second half, and it just didn't happen. It's one of these things where you just sort of see a game kind of get leveled out. And I understand it's the first game back from an international break, and then they've got another one later into the weekend. So you're talking, you eventually get into a preservation mode, right, where you start making your rotations and things like that. I mean, making substitutions at the hours for somebody like Quinn, who is someone who can help close out a game for you, even if you want to try to just sort of ensure that San Diego doesn't maybe try to find any momentum with so much time remaining left in a game, right? Mm-hmm. Or just Fishlock coming in and contributing to a defensive shape. It brought a smile to my face, but at the same time, I'm like, it'd be great if like you get another goal. We've seen this team, this OL Reign team, go up pretty early and then kind of not get another one in the second half. I don't have the stats in front of me for the first versus second half goals in this one like I did for Kansas City and Houston, but I'm a little curious of where we're at for this OL Reign side and that kind of stat category during this portion of the Challenge Cup. It's something that maybe we'll talk about during the next preview when we get a chance. But ultimately, even though San Diego was still making some rotations of their own, shout out to Casey Stoney bringing on the rookie Amira Ali.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, making some noise. Pay attention to Amira Ali. I would love to start this player. I would love to start seeing this player get more starts, actually, for this San Diego Wave side. Player whose ability on the ball is evident that they're kind of going to be a little bit of a game changer, and I would like to see more of it. And we saw it in certain moments throughout this game, and quite frankly, maybe Reign lucky that another one didn't get put up on the board by San Diego.
I honestly think that you're so right with Amira Ali. This is a player that steps onto the pitch and changes the game. And when you look at the front line and the attacking players that Casey Stoney has between Katie Johnson, Jody Taylor, Alex Morgan, Kelsey Turnbow, I'm going to throw in there as well. Amira Ali fits right into there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her start because San Diego is one of the teams that and OL Reign, but they play again on Sunday of this week. So are we going to see different player rotations? I would love to see Ali get a start in this one, in the upcoming match for San Diego. Another player for San Diego that I'm really impressed and happy to see is living up to the potential that I saw them have. Kelsey Turnbow. Those rights traded from Chicago to San Diego Wave, and Kelsey Turnbow getting the start. A lot of games, a lot of minutes for San Diego Wave, and doing a nice job of trying to hold down the midfield, especially going up against a midfield in OL Reign and having to kind of try to dominate in that midfield and keep possession of the ball and hold on to anything that they can. And it's a really tall task for a player, and Kelsey Turnbow is stepping up to it. Last player I want to ask you about, Carly Telford getting the start in goal, her first NWSL start. The English international for San Diego Wave. I mean, a bit of a tough game to come in on against OL Reign, and just kind of getting pummeled in the second, 8th, and 11th minute. I mean, the second minute goal, the initial goal, it was like ping-ponging around, went off 2 San Diego Wave players' faces.
Yeah.
Their faces. And then it finds the back of the net, and Telford is just standing there on her heels,
Yeah.
like, what just happened? It was almost
It's
like, wake up call, Telford. I felt bad for her, honestly. I
Yeah,
felt bad.
it's like, are you asking me about Telford or are you asking me about Kaylin Sheridan? Quite frankly,
Yeah.
it's like I can almost kind of like flip the script in that sense. I mean, it's
Yes.
so again, we have such a small sample size for all 12 clubs right now in NWSL action for challenge from the Challenge Cup specifically, but it is when you're talking about the expansion side specifically, it is so evident that Sheridan in net is such an essential piece for this
Oh,
San
yeah.
Diego Wave side. I mean, we were walking away with the loss 3-1. Telford's obviously going to have things there that she's going to want to go back and look at and probably work on. But with these two teams having this early game and then games further down into the weekend, they're absolutely probably going to be taking a look at what to work on, how to work on, and I'm sure Sheridan is someone that they're going to be welcoming back with open arms for the next
Yeah.
future.